I'm Robert Price of the Bakersfield Californian, and you're in the Bakersfield Californian newsroom studio. We've got a special election coming up on June the 6th, and we plan on bringing in all three candidates for the Ward 5 seat, which is the one seat that's open for this special election. We'll have Bruce Freeman, Ryan Nance, and Noel Pineo, and today we're with Bruce Freeman. Thanks for joining us, Bruce.
Glad to be here.
Appreciate it. I'm here with reporter Dorothy Mills-Gregg and a couple members of the board of the editorial board, Jim Lawitz and Virginia Cowenhoven. I'll get right to it. Okay. You're running because of what Bakersfield means to you and your family, you've said. What made you decide to run for city council in the special election, and why now?
I decided to run when I sort of through the grapevine realized that there was nobody with a lot of business experience running. There are other people running, but I think our problems have to do with more financial business type decisions, growing jobs, which is something I've kind of spent my life doing, balancing budgets, getting through recessions, running a big business. The city is a big business in many ways, and I didn't see anyone with that experience running. So I said, maybe I can help. That's kind of my background, and I believe in public service. I've been on a lot of these Mercy boards, Cal State boards for 20 years because I just think that's something you should do. So I'm not in it for the money, not at $100 a month. I'm honestly just here because I thought maybe I could help.
What do you think are the biggest problems facing Ward 5 right now?
Well, I think the problems are really facing the city. I'm looking at the city's problems more than just Ward 5. Our biggest problem is solvency. I mean, if you looked at the city's goals, they had 7 of them. I'm not sure they meant to prioritize them this way, but number 7 was solvency. Well, I thought that probably should have been page 1 because we can't pay for public safety, we can't pay for transportation, we can't pay for anything if we don't have enough, at this point, tax revenue. We obviously have to find ways to grow that tax revenue. Property tax and sale tax are the only 2 ways, and fees, the only way we pay for anything. And you've probably looked a little bit at the budget. We've lost $7 million a year in sales tax with a slight increase in property tax. But net, we keep draining our cash reserves. And the budget that was published said we have 1 month of cash left. We'll be broke at the end of the year. Now, I've discovered, having torn through that budget for weeks, that the budget isn't exactly what it means. It's not financial standard accounting in the city. It's government accounting. We don't do roll-ups. We don't consolidate. The cash is not the real cash. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff you have to learn. It's about 300-400 pages long. But I've been through it, and we still are in some pretty bad shape, and we can't do a projection, an honest projection, which you have to do for your lenders. I had to do for mine. That'll show we're solvent over the next 2 to 3 years. If we did that, they'd yank our credit line. They would. They'd say, you're not going to make it. So we have to grow our job base, and I think there's things the cities can do to facilitate that. They can't guarantee it, but I think we can do more. That's kind of my background is, you have to create things. You have to make it easier to do business. You got to facilitate the business, and you got to recruit businesses. Those are things I kind of like to do. And we'll probably have to keep tightening expenses. It's pretty tough, but I think we'll have to do that.
Tell us about your background. A lot of people know you from Castle & Cook. Tell us briefly what you did in that role, for how long, okay. And how do you think Castle & Cook and your involvement helped shape Bakersfield?
Well, I was CEO for 21 and a half years. I came in 1993. I only got the job because Castle & Cook was having big problems and was sort of hemorrhaging money, and we were heading in. Everybody said I brought the recession, from Southern California. It hit 2 years before, so the day it was just plummeting up here. But we had like one project with an almost finished clubhouse, and we were losing millions of dollars a year. So, and we had nothing but farmland out in front of us. So in some senses that was great, kind of a blank palette. But so the job was to turn the company around, make it profitable. They'd gone public, and to build a company. So I never had so much fun in my life. I had sort of a tough chairman to report to, but the work was wonderful because my background, I'd built thousands of homes and master plans and shopping centers before I came here. I was a real estate guy, president of another company for 10 or 11 years. And we had to think out of the box a little, which is what you've had to do with the California to survive, what I think our city will have to start doing. Things are changing for cities as much as companies. What are we going to do here? We have to have a great product. You have to have a great service. We have to differentiate ourselves. We have to know how to have things worth more than they cost. So we master planned everything, segmented everything, and we said we're going to build a higher quality product than anyone's ever built here. There's the void in the market. And we better do it well with a margin. And we're going to do it on everything. If it's a shopping center, it's going to be a beautiful shopping center. People said, why would you spend twice as much on the marketplace than anybody ever spent before? I said, because it's going to be a great shopping center. And you have to believe in yourself. And we did. And I think today, if you drive through 5 square miles of Brim Hall and Seven Oaks, the marketplace, the Riverwalk, Brighton Parks, and I'm a member of the Urban Land Institute. We're competitive with the very best of the best communities in the whole country. You will never drive through anything nicer than those, whether you're Irvine isn't as nice. And I think we've raised the image of our town. When we recruit people, oil companies, I remember way back State Farm, but companies come in, they all come out to Seven Oaks, they drive the neighborhoods, they say, my gosh, we can live here and we can buy a house for $300,000, and we're coming from Westlake Village where it was $800 for the same house. So that's helped the city, I think. It's a byproduct. Basically, we did it for capitalistic reasons. We had to come up with a good product that was profitable. But it's nice. Our chairman only believes in kind of first-class things, so it's kind of nice to work for someone like that. And we had to come up with our own vision. And it has to be something you believe in and you're passionate about, or nobody will follow you. Leadership is, you better have a vision. No one around you will get excited if leaders don't have visions. And I'm not trying to criticize the city. I think we can do more. I think we sort of need a new vision for our city to come out of these doldrums and this recession and envision what can we really be.
What is that vision and how do you enunciate it?
Okay. We have a lot of great assets. First thing, you review your assets in eBay. What are the good things we have? You might down here say, we've got a lot of great writers, or we have this. What are your assets? Well, Bakersfield's assets, great weather, great people. I moved from Southern California. These are just friendlier people. Better work ethic. Again, I moved from Southern California. These have better work ethic. Our schools are getting better and better. Yeah, we have a burden. We have a lot of low-income people, first generation, to even go to high school, much as college. So that's just a challenge we have to overcome. But you look at BC, it's one of the best junior colleges in California. Cal State, it's just, to me, a very up-and-coming university. That's why I've been involved with it all these years. I think we won 3 national awards last year. One of them, I'm sure you put in your paper, because I got it every other place, was best return on investment in the nation. Not number 20, number 1. Those are great things starting to happen. So we got a lot of people trying hard around here. I don't really concentrate on what we don't have, and all our problems. I always want to look at the future and what we can be. And so we have a lot of potential here. Businesses would come here, most affordable place in California to do business. We need to be a friendlier place to do business. We're not unfriendly. LA is unfriendly. I've done business there. We're B. We got to be an A. There are things you can do within the city, if you get everybody on board and excited about it, that we can fast track all the projects. We could come up with a process of, you come to Bakersfield, that tentative map is 3 months. It's not 6 or 9. I get 3 grading plan checks. We promise you 1. We guarantee you, in 6 months a record map. They're just examples. But so people say, we ought to do business in Bakersfield. We can get our business up and running. So, there are 1,000 things. The staff would come up with their own ideas. I'm just giving you examples. But you got to get them excited that they have to contribute too. We're all in this thing together. And maybe we won't make ourselves into a boom town. But we can grow. You can go out and recruit. I used to work in the KDC. I went to LA. I went to Omaha. I would go to these places. I'm still willing to go. I don't care if I'm a councilman or not. I can go meet with the president of the company and tell him why Bakersfield's a great place to come. I kind of like the salesmanship. I talked to Alan Tanning. Alan, why didn't you ever do that sort of thing for 20 years? Alan's, buying clothes is pretty honest. It's just my personality. I said, well, if I'm here, I'm going to go do it because I love it. And this is a great place, but somebody has to sell this city. We did 2 incredible seniors communities. We won national awards for them, for the Greens, Brighton Parks. The best in the nation. Drive into Brighton Parks. You drove into Paradise. Everybody there is just on cloud nine. They love it. It looks incredible. Well, they say, this is a wonderful place to retire to. We should be able to attract more retirees to Bakersfield. We're a great place. So you got to recruit, You've got to recruit. You got to fast track, and you got to get people excited. You need leadership. So
Dorothy,
I miss it a little bit from the business, so maybe this gives me a chance to, through others I know, but a little chance to get the juices flowing a little bit.
Yeah. Dorothy, I know you had a question or two.
Well, actually, out of curiosity, you mentioned those businesses and trying to attract and recruit them. What exactly is it that your spot on the city council seat that you can use as a platform for recruiting those businesses?
I think you have to raise subjects and issues with the city council. I'm going to have trouble learning that we need to grow more. We're a city manager structure city, so I have to work through Alan Tandy. Alan Tandy is not averse to this. I've already met with him on it. Now, we got the Brown Act, so I can only talk to one person at a time. I'm not supposed to say the same thing, go to another. I'm going to have to figure out how do people get things done when you can't call your team together to solve a problem. I admit that. I'm not a politician. But I'm a pretty quick study, and I'll figure out how to do that. But you have to sow these seeds with the council members and the key city staff, starting with Alan, that this is something we have to do, and the mayor, and get other people interested. And the county's doing this Six Sigma thing. I think they are going to do it. Right. Great. I mean, I've developed a Six Sigma modification for 20 years. We used it. I consult with companies that put it in now. We use it Castle and Cook, just transform the whole company. You just spread ideas. I will figure out how to do it. I'm not the boss. You have to have 7 people agreeing with you. But, you go into a company. If you don't get other people to agree with you, they're not motivated to do it anyway. So you better know how to sell your ideas to people.
And what are some of those ideas?
Well, I just went through I think we can recruit people to Bakersfield. We have to send people out. We could, the KDC's there, but I don't know if we even have a representative on it anymore. The city really never liked to, I was on that, 10, 20 years. Go to the meetings, and the city sometimes sent someone. There was this rivalry. What are we rival? We're one place here. So they didn't really, they have our own development department. But they weren't really reaching out. I would hope maybe we could work together a little more, county and city. It's a joint effort to bring people in here. I think our processes can improve so we can move projects through faster. So businesses, when they come in, they feel like you're my friend helping me solve problems to get my business open. You're not my enemy trying to throw obstacles in my way. And, government workers often don't really get it that you're here to serve those citizens and to help them do better, because businesses are the ones who pay the taxes to keep us all going in our city services. Just an awareness. They're pretty good people, actually. It's not a bad staff, because I work with them. But you can, as a councilperson, talk to staff. You can go down and talk with them. So I think it's just somehow trying to bring some of this business attitude and enthusiasm, and it's sort of, can do. My chairman, who was a very tough guy, if you want to look up I think he was the Fortune SOB list twice, and it's a pretty horrifying thing when you read about these people. But so he was a very crabby old guy, and he had to sign those. So when you're in a desk, he's small, but you'd sit on the other side, and you literally had to look over this sign, and it says, "It can be done." If you ever walked in that office and you didn't come in with answers, or you went in whining, I got a problem, you were gone. It was, you bring me answers, you bring me can do, you don't ever bring me your problems. And it's just, you got to believe you can do things. That's half the battle is just believing you can win.
Yeah. Let me ask you about the campaign. Your opponent has sort of tried to characterize you as a carpetbagger. I'm not sure what terms he's used, but you have a residence in Newport Beach. Yeah. Fill us in on that whole story.
Well, I think we kind of slander our opponents when we don't have a platform. To me, those are distractions. I can tell you, if I deal with David Murdoch for 21 years, a few slanders from Ryan Nance aren't going to get me distracted at all. Unpleasant, yes. Silly, you know. I mean, voter fraud. That was a 10-minute call to the Orange County Register of Voters. No voter fraud. I mean, you can have two houses.
So you still have a residence in
Absolutely.
Newport Beach, and you still visit Newport Beach?
Yeah, like a lot of people in Bakersfield have a second home. Right as I didn't retire, I bought a home down there because, you know, it's real hot here a lot of the time. I was going to retire, and I'm going to spend more time down there. My wife really wanted to spend more time there, get out of the heat. But, you know, I maintain my residence here and my ties here because I'm still on the Cal State Board. They said, extend your term. I was the chairman of the Business School Board. They said, extend your term. I'm on the Mercy Board. They said, extend your term. I got all this public service obligation, plus a lot of friends. And then my consulting didn't really take off in Newport Beach. It took off more in Bakersfield. So I'm going to be here about half the time anyway. I'm just commuting constantly. I don't think anything wrong with that. I have no apologies for it. So I have two houses. My official residence is here now for 2 years because I thought I'd spend more time down there. I switched voter registration there, voted there. When this came up, switched it back here. We'll be voting here.
Yeah.
Always voted.
Jim Lovitz has a question, I believe.
Freeman, if I'm a casual voter in Ward 5, could you characterize what separates you from your opponents in 3 or 4 very quick bullet points?
We're interviewing for a job, for being one of the 7 leaders in the city. When you interview here, I'm sure you do what we did at Castle and Cook. The first thing is, give me your resume. What's your track record? Show me what you have done that's relevant to what you'll be doing. You know, do you have the skills for the job? Because we never hired anybody. It's too risky if they didn't have the skills for that type of a job. To me, if you can't read a 300-page budget and tear it apart and know what's going on, I don't think you're really qualified for this job. If you can't read a 2,000-page EIR and know what a mitigation means and what disclosure means, if you don't know how to, behind closed session, weigh the pros and cons of a huge lawsuit against the city and help participate in that discussion. If you don't know how to help grow jobs, you haven't grown any jobs, you haven't created a job. I mean, if you really have no experience whatsoever in any of those things, I think you ought to go get some experience, sit on a board, do some public service, get yourself up to speed, then run for city council later. But I think to do a good job, you need a lot of skills and experience, and I have a lot of those. So I'm sure Mr. Pino is a very good, I think geography, but I met him, he was a nice guy. I think he's plenty intelligent. He admitted, I don't have any experience in any public service, any city government, any business, nothing. Mr. Nance, I'm sure, is a good carpenter and union rep. No experience in any of the things that a good city councilman needs to make good decisions. So that's nothing against those guys. It's just what your resume show. This should be considered an important job. We should look for people that can contribute the most to the city. I could not be a journalist. I didn't spend my life becoming a journalist. You learn what you do in this life, and probably you got a lot better than you were 20 years ago. I think there's so many parallels in what I did to what being a council member and contributing to help the city solve its solvency problems, its growth problems, its budgeting problems, and even, you know, if we get into, at some point, having to figure out how to deal with the pensions better. I mean, I do my homework. I can tell you anything you want to know about all California bankruptcies right now, or what happened.
So going along the lines of voters, what do you think are some of the issues that voters in Ward 5 are really looking for?
Ward 5 is probably the highest income ward, highest.
Geographically, we're talking about what portion of the city?
Yes, Ward 5
which is southwest Bakersfield.
We call
generally.
it Southwest. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got all, you know, high-end real estate. They pay the most property tax, and with the highest income, they pay the most sales tax, and they have the highest level of education. So, you know, I walk a lot of precincts, and the people are pretty astute who come to the doors. They actually know issues. Now, there's so many houses, I probably never get more than 10% of them. If there's almost 20,000 houses. But the number one thing they all talk about is city solvency. They are very tuned into the financial problems of the city. Most of them, they're going to blame it on the pension funds. And, you know, I don't blame it on the pension funds. I say, first of all, our city council made those decisions. Pension funds did a great negotiating job, but everybody asked for the best deal they can get. But you know, I have to say, well, look, internet has taken a lot of sales out of the city. This oil recession's taken a lot of sales. We're down $7 million a year over 2 years. That's a big chunk. When the whole total revenue, we wished was $196 million, at least the general fund budget. Property taxes have gone up a little bit, so between property tax maybe like 75 now and sales tax is 67, a direct reversal from 2 years ago. You know, we got fees. You know, it only adds up this year. It added up to 181 million, but then we add the expenses, and they were 196 million. It's published on the internet. You have to look at it. So that means we're 15 million short. This says we will take all 15 million of our cash reserve, opening cash balance, gone. You say, really? That's an approved budget. Council approved that. Well, the more I've discovered, it's not standard accounting. I said, I called Nelson Smith. I said, I hope you have a reserve fund you're not showing somewhere. He goes, yeah, don't tell anybody. We got the rural reserve fund. I said, thank God you have one. But I said, it's about 1 month's expenses. So, you know, we have some problems. Growth is the best way with new taxes. You can only cut so far. You have to work more efficiently, as all of us have had to learn to do in the private sector. We have to do more with less, or at least the same with less. But, you know, I don't know. You know, the pension funds, if you look at all the other cities, nobody took on CalPERS yet. CalPERS is the 800-pound gorilla. Well, I should say two people actually recently took them on and won. So there's two appellate court cases that now say it's not this contract for life. The California rule is out. Well, you can imagine CalPERS and the pensions are in a total panic. It's going to the Supreme Court of California now on appeal. That may give us some guidance on what can be done. But in the Stockton bankruptcy, the Vallejo bankruptcy, San Bernardino bankruptcy, they took away medical. This is medical pension. You didn't even know that was the other part of this deal. That's $4 to $5 million a year. They don't even count it when they talk about the pensions, which are $40 million now, 44 next year, 49 the next year. You know, they're like 20% of the budget. They will soon become 35 in 5 years. Healthy is 15, by the way. So the interesting thing was in San Diego, which just through reading, they did a people's initiative, which you go if the people do an initiative to change your pension fund, and they did it, and it was upheld by the courts, they changed it to a 401k. Now, it can't be initiated by a council person or by city government, but if the people out there initiate something and get it passed at 66%. I don't know if it had to have 66%. It's been upheld. The people, the citizens, can change the game. But there's a lot of stuff going out. The shame is after both Stockton, Vallejo, and probably San Bernardino, after they reformed, and some of them like San Bernardino, well, there's no more city police force anymore. Merged it into the county for efficiency. There's no more city garbage anymore. Privately contracted. All the non-essential services are now contracted. And they got rid of or seriously changed the medical portion. They didn't go after the pension because they just didn't think they could win in court on that. But the Supreme Court thing may give us some guidance. But it isn't like anybody even wants to do that. It's just if we were to get to the point where we can't pay our bills, what most of them do is then they just start cutting policemen and firemen. I mean, that's what they do.
I think Jenny Cohen has a question.
Yeah, and I know
Jenny?
we're coming up on time here, and I think this is a change of subject, but maybe a good way to wrap it up, is that, you're running now but didn't run originally. And I think a lot of people want to know why that is.
Because Jeff Tech died. Simple answer. I totally love the guy. Worked with him for 20. He was a planning commissioner for 20 years. I'm presenting projects for 21. very happy with his election. Thought he was a good man. You know what happened. Harold Hansen says he's not going to run again. The people running don't seem to have a lot to offer. And, I thought, well, not something I really wanted to do for the next 4 years, but I think somebody's got to step up and do it, okay? I mean, you do have an obligation to do public service if you believe in community. And, I'm not trying to sound like this really good guy. And all my friends say, what in the world are you doing it for? I say, well, you wouldn't do it. Somebody's got to do it. And maybe it'll be a fun job, And if you can contribute something, you feel good about yourself.
You're seeking the opportunity to represent which ward, which
Ward
I think
5.
is probably the wealthiest ward in the city, perhaps.
Yep.
Certainly one of them. But as a councilman, you would represent all of the city, and there's a lot of poverty in the city. There are some issues, some deep economic, social issues in various parts of the city. I realize a councilman can only do so much, but what can you do as a member of that city council to bring up the standards of living, the quality of life throughout the city?
Well, I think you're really a councilman at large. You're elected in Ward 5. But the truth is, your decisions down there don't affect Ward 5. They always affect all of the city. So to the extent we can get economic growth here, the property taxes from Ward 5 go back the other way and pay for things in the other wards. The sale taxes go back. Wherever you generate the taxes, they're shared in the city and they go to where they're needed. So we need to lift the tax base here through growth as opposed to tax increases. Really, I say that as, there's a two-edged sword there. You can increase the tax, and then people won't come here because we have too high tax. San Bernardino had that choice in their bankruptcy. They said, no, we will lose more tax revenue by doing that. We'll scare people. What asset do we have? A low tax base. That might attract people and companies to our city. They said, we're not going to do that. So we do. To me, that's an asset we have. But we have to get our engine going here. Those are the kind of things the city can do. I don't allocate, how much fire and police go to different wards. I mean, we try to serve everybody based on their needs in this city. So if it comes up and we need a particular fire station in a certain ward, whether it's Ward 5 or not, I'll advocate for it. Yeah. That's another thing, a little bit of a segue, but you published an article on all our fundraising yesterday. All mine comes from Bakersfield, and you saw lots of little contributions. I am dialing all day long. I have to raise it all myself, call everybody I know. I have a few people gave me $5,000. That was wonderful. Mostly $400, $200, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, because I'm going to represent the people of Bakersfield. I looked at Mr. Nance's, and 90% was out-of-town unions. Exactly, if you pull the paper, exactly 90% from out-of-town unions. And only 10% was fire and police. Each gave them 5. So and then I think 1 or 2 businesses for maybe $2,000. Well, I want to know what do they want in Bakersfield? They want something for all that money. Last time one union wrote a $55,000 check.
So does all that support from unions, does that disqualify him from being a city council member, would you say?
No, not. It's legal, totally legal. So,
well, Bruce, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time. The Californian will continue to. we've got to wrap it up, but the Californian will continue to
right.
cover the race.
All righty.
We've got I know a profile of you coming up soon. So thanks for joining us.
Okay.
Appreciate everybody watching. Robert Price for the Bakersfield Californian. Don't forget to vote on June the 6th if you're in Ward 5. And thanks for joining us.